As the Eagles protest, the Tulsa police released video of another deadly encounter between police and an unarmed black man. Terence Crutcher was shot and killed by Officer Betty Shelby, despite being unarmed and raising his hands. The Tulsa police and the Federal Justice Department have opened separate investigations into the shooting. Also, last week in Columbus, police shot and killed 13-year-old Tyre, who reportedly pulled a gun from his waistband that turned out to be a BB gun. So, we've had a lot of people complaining about the players taking a knee, but given this police video that was released, I'm sure you also noticed, I don't hear much from those people now.
No, it's pretty quiet, which speaks volumes. You know, I hate to say I told you so, because I literally hate to say it, and I didn't tell you. And I didn't tell you or anybody else because I didn't want to verbalize it, because obviously you don't want to see this type of thing happen. But when we were talking about Colin Kaepernick and other players and athletes taking a knee and raising fists, I kept saying in the back of my mind, just wait, it's going to happen again. How soon we forget. Matter of fact, the last time we were in these chairs, it was Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. It was ESPYs week. And the conversation and the reaction to the conversation that we were having, you think we were making it up. You think we were just inventing these situations. So I kept saying to myself, it's right around the corner. It's going to happen again. And when I saw this, when I saw the Crutcher story, and when I saw Tyre, when I saw the hashtags, I said, wow, right on cue. And I'm just trying to figure out, what could we have done to solve police identifying him as a bad dude? What kind of dialogue that the other side swears we're unwilling to have? What kind of dialogue, what kind of community service work that's so much more comfortable for them to embrace? What kind of community service work could Colin Kaepernick and others have done to prevent them saying, look, the bad dude might want to bring out the taser? Like, what exactly would make, forget driving while black in certain communities, what exactly would make driving with a broke down car not a crime? What exactly would have made Terence Crutcher not presumed to be a suspect? Like, why couldn't they take him alive, but they seem to be able to take whoever they want to alive when they want to?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because just for my own sense of clarity, just so I know I'm not crazy, and not that I was on this side of things anyway, I went back and read the accounts of how they arrested Dylan Roof. Just to be clear. So, someone who murdered 9 people at a Bible study, you peacefully apprehend. Wait, even better, they followed him for 37 miles, okay, before they apprehended him. They knew he hadn't eaten all day, and they took him to Burger King. Somebody who is in cold blood, for no other reason other than racism, has murdered 9 innocent people. He is taken completely peacefully. Nobody's calling him a bad dude in terms of the lingo that the cops are using when discussing him, obviously considering it a heinous act. And I'm thinking to myself, like, am I missing something? What don't I understand? And then it just occurred to me, the unforgettable part about all this, and the disheartening part about this, the heartbreaking part of this, is that it's hard to convince people of your humanity. See, that's where it's getting lost, is that if we're always in that mode of having to convince you to treat us with dignity and with humanity and to not kill us, then the conversation's already done. It's pointless to even have it.
Exactly. Or to disarm. We're not a threat. Just because of the color of our skin, we're not a threat. And I think it's also hard to convince people to have a level of sympathy and empathy or relate to somebody that doesn't look like them. Because it's so much easier to say, to go ahead and put him on trial. Well, what did he do? What did he obey? As if resisting, and certainly there's no evidence that Terence Crutcher actually did that, as if resisting comes with a death sentence. Well, what did he do? What was his record? How did he do in school? Like, these are the types of things that you say, you know what, just say what you really feel, that we don't deserve to be treated any better. That this is because of black on black crime in Chicago, that, well, maybe he wasn't doing something, but the next one was, and he was a threat. So Colin Kaepernick stands up, people say, well, wait, I need specifics. What exactly are you talking about? I guess we got to show you better than we can tell you.
But even in showing people, that doesn't do anything.
But what is Betty Shelby doing right now? What is she on?
She's on paid administrative leave.
Did Colin Kaepernick not cite this?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when the people out there who, and a lot of them work in this industry and at this network, when you sit up there and either turn a blind eye to this situation, to these issues, don't choose to say anything we have the opportunity, or don't do whatever you can. And I'm not just talking about community service work, that's part of it, okay? I'm talking about actually addressing the issue. That's what Malcolm Jenkins had to say. Like, it's real nice to lock arms and it looks good,
right,
and it sounds good and people can digest it, but that's not really expressing the issue the way that kneeling and raising a fist is right now, or people actually speaking out on the specifics of the issue, which is we can't be viewed as threats in these encounters, okay? That's something that is primarily reserved for people of color to be assumed and presumed to be threats or up to no good. So the people out there, whether you work here, you work somewhere else at another network, you're on Twitter, whoever you are, if you're ignoring this issue, if you're not speaking up about it, if you're not doing something about it, if you're discrediting the messenger, if you're playing devil's advocate, or worse, if you're going out of your way to use your authority or your power, your platform to silence these outcries and this outrage, then you're an accessory to murder. You're an accessory to murder right now, whether you realize it or not, because that type of culture in terms of, well, way more white people are killed than black people. Yeah, because there are way more white people.
Right.
What about interstate? All this type of stuff. What you're doing is perpetuating and supporting and continuing a society where this is acceptable. Because no word has less value to it than unacceptable. Because a lot of times we say, oh, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Then it happens again and again.
We continue to accept it.
And again.
Right.
So it's like, honestly, I have nothing profound to say at this point. I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen to whatever brilliant solutions you have, or you think that coming together and talking and listening to one another will prevent from these fatal encounters from happening when nobody wants to listen to Terence Crutcher. Well, they just want to assume.
Here's the part a lot of people don't want to own up to. In some of these deadly encounters, and many of them, the police are just merely an extension of what the thought process is in terms of how people in this country view people of color. It's an extension of their fear. That's all it is, because that's why when you listen to the sound of this deadly encounter with Terence Crutcher, you can hear the one police officer say, tase that thing. He's not even human, he's a thing. Tase that thing. Okay? That's why you hear, oh, he looks like a bad dude. So already before...
Tyre King's a young man.
Correct.
13 years old.
Same with Tamir Rice.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden you take them from being human beings, you're already dehumanizing them before you even encounter them. So what do we think is actually going to happen next? And exactly what we saw.
And it goes without saying, of course we're not talking about all police.
No.
But the ones who are doing their job the way that they have sworn to do it, to serve and protect, they got to get louder. We're not the first people to say we like to hear from you, but I'm sorry. It's like, at a certain point, you have to denounce this type of behavior. You can't circle the wagons and say, well, we're going to boycott securing the Dolphins games or the 49ers games because we're offended. Colin Kaepernick specifically said, the people who say, I need specifics, what exactly is your message? Specifically said, I'm not anti-military, I'm not all police. Some police. And then you see video to it. So again, it feels awfully quiet today.
Right.
When the last few weeks, it was like, what are you talking about? Stop race baiting. Stop exaggerating the situation. You're the problem. By talking about it, you're keeping racism alive.
Well, the other thing, beyond the police who are against this kind of policing speaking up, we need to see actual justice. And that is where a source of a high level of frustration remains. Because, Mike, we already know how this is going to play out. And I hate to be that pessimistic, but we already know.
We're trained to prepare ourselves for this inevitability.
Much like with Eric Garner, the police officer involved in that got a significant pay raise.
Because absent video, the narrative of I felt threatened for my life, or he did such and such, or he resisted, or he reached, or I followed my training to a T, it was justified. Absent video, that's an easy sell to a public that presumes that especially inner city black people are inherently
black people, period.
right, but especially,
Right.
but I'm glad you said that though, because honestly, for a long time, it was, well, if you talk a certain way, if you dress a certain way, if you get educated enough, I believe Crutcher was a student on his way back from school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
If you're educated enough, if you uplift your community, if you achieve enough, if you carry yourself a certain way, you pull your pants up, if you don't wear a hoodie, if you check all these different boxes, then you could be safe. Then you could be excluded from this kind of treatment. So it's not even that. So you're right. But I'm saying that the narrative for too long in this country, for too many people, not all, but for way too many people, too many loud people with voices, the narrative has always been they're a threat inherently. It's in their nature. Again, that's why cleaning up our own communities often sells better.
Right. Because if you were less of a threat,
exactly,
then maybe we wouldn't have to.
How do you expect the agents of the state? How do you expect government officials to treat you? And look how you treat yourselves, as opposed to understanding for the 50 millionth time that crime is a product of proximity.
All right. We're going to leave it there.
Where are we